You see how that thing that authorities promised that they wouldn't do? Well, guess what they did? German police used COVID tracking data to hunt down witnesses to a man's death by tracking restaurant customers' movements through the vaccine passports. This is the exact type of thing that government said that they would not do, and yet here they are doing it. Police accessed the data after a man fell while leaving a restaurant in Mainz. Seeking witnesses, they made use of data from an app known as Luca. It is designed for users to register time spent in venues to track the spread of COVID. Police and prosecutors gained access on 21 people who were at the restaurant. After an outcry, prosecutors apologised and an inquiry has been opened. And I guarantee, like, this is just one that came out into the public. I guarantee you that this is being done all the fucking time. German police have been criticised for using COVID tracking data to trace contacts from bars and restaurants as part of an investigation. The case, stemming from November last year, began after the fatal fall of a man while leaving a restaurant in the western city of Mainz. Police seeking possible witnesses made use of data from an app known as Luca, which was designed for users to register time spent in restaurants and taverns to track the possible spread of coronavirus. Luca records the length of time spent at an establishment with the patron's full name, address, and telephone number, all subject to Germany's strict data protection laws. However, the police and local prosecutors in the case in Mainz successfully appealed to the municipal health authorities to gain access to information about 21 people who visited the restaurant at the same time as the man who died. After an outcry, prosecutors apologised to the people involved, and the local data protection authority has opened an inquiry into the affair. Now, one of the things that can happen, by the way, whenever your phone gets tracked, like one thing that Google does if you've got a Google account, even if you switch all the location stuff off, it still tracks everywhere you're going. It knows what shops you went to, it knows where you were for like last night, it knows where you slept, it knows all of that stuff. It's constantly tracking you all the time. And have you ever seen the stuff that they do in usually done in like cyberpunk games and stuff like that? I know that they did it in Watch Dogs and they did it in Cyberpunk where they collate the data from an area so that you can, and you see like holograms that reenact like a murder or all that type of shit. Well, it's obviously not as high tech as that, but using the data that governments and all these big corporations get from your phones, they can know exactly where you were standing, when you were there, who you were with, who you might have came into contact with, and also through recording you through your phone, they know what you said to each other. So they can't generate a sort of like a hologram like replication of it, but they can get data that is pretty damn close, and all of that is being tracked through your smartphone. And that is, and the government say, "Oh no, we won't do that," and it's like it's a fucking phenomenally powerful tool for governments to use to deal with stuff exactly like this, and you expected them to not use it just because they promised a lot of shit. Of course they're using it, and I guarantee you they are using it all the fucking time. We condemn the abuse of Luca data collected to protect against infections, said the company that developed the Luca app, Culture for Life, in a statement. It added that it had received frequent requests for its data from the authorities, which it routinely rejected. Konstantin von Notz, a senior politician from the Greens' junior partners in the federal coalition, warned that abuse of the app could undermine public trust. Yeah, because it turns out the public don't trust the government. I think, to be honest, I think it's a little bit late for that. I don't know. I don't know anyone who actually trusts the government with anything. And even when you talk to see like the proper like vaccine fiends, see how the proper like Soviet Union type people were like, yeah, do what the government says and support mandates and support lockdowns and support this and blah blah blah. And then if you ask them, do you trust the government? They go, no. Well, okay, yeah, all right then. We must not allow faith in digital apps, which are an important tool in the fight against COVID-19, to disappear, he told Tuesday's edition of Handelsblatt Business Daily. The case comes days after hundreds of protesters gathered in cities across Germany, it wasn't hundreds, it was thousands, to demonstrate against the government's COVID restrictions and looming discussions on mandatory vaccines. Demonstrators took to the streets of cities, including Berlin, Cologne, and Leipzig, on Monday evening to protest against Chancellor Olaf Scholz's decision to toughen restrictions as Germany faces another surge in COVID cases. Basically, you've had Austria just next door bring in heavy fines for anyone that's not getting vaccinated. But remember, it's a choice. Lawmakers in the Bundestag were set to debate whether to follow Austria, there you go, and make vaccines mandatory for Germans. The protests followed a decision by Chancellor Scholz and the 16 state governors on Friday to toughen requirements for entry to restaurants and bars. The leaders built on restrictions introduced just after Christmas that limited private gatherings to 10 people and effectively shut nightclubs. People have already been required for some time to show proof of full vaccination or recovery to enter restaurants and bars, as well as many non-essential shops, theatres and cinemas. I think all you should require is a test. See if you've got a negative test, that's fine, and you come. Friday's decision, and that should be up to the restaurants and businesses whether or not they want to adopt that. Friday's decision called for the requirements to be ratcheted up for restaurants and bars. Customers will have to show either they have received a booster shot or provide a negative test result on top of proof that they have been vaccinated or recovered. Almost 72% of Germans are considered fully vaccinated, at least for now. As soon as another booster is required, then that means all of them are unvaccinated, because that's how it works now. While 42.3% have received an additional booster shot. Now, like I said before, if businesses want to, bring people in, if they want a test or if they want you to wear a mask or if they want to do any of that stuff, then that should be left down to the businesses. If a business has made the decision to do that, then that's fine. However, the government should not be able to force businesses to do that. And as for all this stuff with your data, I know that, this is out in the news, this is terrible. Can you believe that they're doing that? Yeah, I 100% believe they're doing it. In fact, they've been doing it for years. They do this stuff all the fucking time. And it's at the point now where criminals, if they're about to go out and rob a fucking jewelry store or something like that, one of the first things that they do, they leave their smartphones at home. And what they do, and this has actually helped a few of them get away with it, they give their smartphone to a friend and get the friend to walk around with the smartphone in their pocket. And then what will happen is they can go, wow, look, I was here on this time on this street that I knew ahead of time had no CCTV cameras. Yeah, look, there I am right there. I was walking up and down the street. I was having a merry old time. And, that fucking does actually help them get away with it, because police have become very heavily reliant on, digital forensics to try and catch criminals. I mean, there was another case in London as well where it was they were tracking people with their Oyster cards. Apparently a fight happened on a train. A guy tried to intervene and he was assaulted, and when he called the police, they says that we've scanned the Oyster cards that people were using and we've managed to find the guy just by finding other Oyster cards in the area. And that's how they were able to actually track the guy down. So see, this digital forensic stuff, this has been around for a long time, and it's definitely not going to go away. And even if you say to companies, I do not consent to you tracking my location, blah, 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 they still do it. They still do it in the background. They just don't make it available to you. They are still allowed to do it. But the problem is, if you want to use any of these companies, then in their little agreement that they make you tick before you can make an account, you're basically agreeing for them to gather as much data on you as they possibly can, and then use that for marketing and also sell it to other agencies, because data is a very lucrative currency in the online world. That's why you get websites where, even though the service is completely free and you shouldn't need to make an account, they always make you make an account. Have you ever heard that whole thing? If the service is free, you're the product. It's your data. That's why you should be able to just go in there and very easily, use the service for whatever it is. But they always want you to make an account, because that's where they make their money, from selling your data. But yeah, police have been using this for a long time, and it's definitely not going away. Maybe Paul Joseph Watson just posted one of the really old Nokias, and it turns out that phones like that are making a comeback because people are sick of being tracked. Though, you can still track those.